This is my next
Probably
thing.
driving the parents crazy.
Sorry to cut you off. I don't know if everybody knows this, but like you were born in Cambodia. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
States.
So I have a whole interesting story. My sister was adopted too. My sister was adopted from Ecuador.
So you guys are all adopted?
And there's 5 kids. 3 of us are adopted and 2 weren't.
Okay.
So my brother's adopted too. Like, so I was adopted from Cambodia, and I was they found me in a bombed village during the war, and then I was brought.
Was I doing a set there? It was a bomb.
Bombed village.
Was it the first 10 minutes of me being awkward?
Yeah. Oh, right. So yeah. So then my stories is like, I was in this orphanage they called the Canada House. And so this lady, Naomi Bronstein, she was already helping Vietnamese babies during the Vietnam War in 1969. And then she moved in 1970. There was Nixon was bombing Cambodia. And so like the whole agriculture, and I was born in 1974, so it was stopped by them, but there was still war. There was war with other communists that were there. And then there was also a Marxist regime called the Khmer Rouge. And they were basically, as soon as America left Cambodia, they started, they took over the country. And they put a lot of people in concentration camps, because what they wanted to do, because they're Marxists, right? So what they wanted to do was make a perfect socialist society. So the first thing it was the kind where a lot of them, he believed that the country people were better than the city people, because because communists are against capitalism. So anybody who was from the city was sworn at and was like called an evil capitalist, right? And they were meant to line up for food last. And then he killed everybody who was educated. So everybody from the government, this is a lot of people who were killed, like over 2 million people minimum was killed. So everybody who was from the government, anybody who was a teacher, anybody who was educated, any student, anybody who wore glasses, you'd be killed.
It's probably not the first reason. It's probably
well, they killed anybody who was mixed race Cambodian. They killed anybody who wasn't Cambodian. They killed anybody who was a different religion. They didn't believe in religion because they're Marxists. They don't like religion, because the religion is the Marxist ideology, right? They killed like basically everybody. All they wanted was the countryside Cambodians. I would have lived if I was old enough, because I was from the country. I was from the jungle, so I was from the country. And non-educated, right? Because they wanted to re-educate them. So they put them in concentration camps where
aren't they worked. Creepy terms, irregardless. Like,
what?
I say it's a creepy term. Like, what do you mean be re-educated? Like it's it's like, what the
called
fuck?
Brainwashing.
Yeah, it's because there's definitive truths. You know, there's definitive things that we can prove with like equations and fucking just with actual visuals. So like, when you keep hearing these terms like come up and shit, it must be so fucking alarming, just because like of how just like any, like the re-education, or like when you need to like relearn. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's called brainwashing. So basically, like a lot of like a lot of communists, they'll make them listen to, like when they were working in the fields, they played audio like of monologues of their leader, which was Pol Pot, over and over how great he was. And then after they did another purge, and he was thinking, oh, some people are dying in the rice fields. And it was really because they're malnourished. They were slaves, basically, and they were dying. And he goes, oh, something's like poisoning the group. So he did another purge. And then he had a place called, one of the places that he had was a prison called SS-21. And what happened, this is what the killing fields were, right? This is the real killing fields, is this place called SS-21. And so they started arresting everybody. So they arrested from whole families, all the way up to babies. They have an area in Cambodia called the Killing Fields, and you can go to this location. It was a converted school, and it has all these pictures of people and babies and all the people they killed, and they kept records of how they tortured and killed them, because they would ask them, are you with the KGB? Are you with the CIA? And these are country Cambodians. They don't even know what that is. And they're like, no. And then they eventually have to admit it. And then they would kill them, right? And if the only survivors that came out of it was a handful, only like I think there was like 6 people who survived it when it was finally liberated. And they were so brainwashed that they couldn't even remember what their name was. That's how how fucked up this camp was. So that's communism. That's socialism. And so what happened
when it's done like with force, which people don't understand.
Yeah,
Like if we're
exactly.
talking about psychology, this all kind of goes back. It's kind of an ever rotating cycle where like
Yeah.
even with these places, if you do liberate that, they tend to have another leader that maybe is not
Mhm.
as aggressive, but they kind of do it in like a different way. Like when I went to university, like the communications classes in particular, they would show us like different propaganda that they would
Oh
show
yeah.
about war, and like how the media will give you imagery and then
Mhm.
we'll take studies on that and like based on like how people react. So like during the Katrina thing, they were showing like a lot of people looting back then, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
and we're only showing like the imagery of that and like people
Yeah.
and it's not that it's not a real thing, but to
Yeah.
fixate on that and to like have it be the 24-hour news cycle, like you said, where they can
Yeah. Yeah.
keep that shit propping up. It's the creepiest fucking
Well,
thing.
that was a horrible, crazy incident that happened there. But yeah, propaganda. Yeah, exactly. And my sister was adopted from Ecuador. She was it's in she was Latin American, but she was left on a church's doorstep or something, or I'm not sure the exact story, but anyway, she was adopted. Um, and my mom got her. It took about a year for them to get her over because they had to go through certain legal papers to show that they adopted her before they changed this law of not taking children out of that country. And then my brother was adopted, but he was born in Toronto, but his parents were Slavic. So there were 2 teenagers who had a baby. They were living in like cottage country, Ontario, Canada, but their parents were like Slavic, Yugoslavia kind of thing. And they had the baby in secret in Toronto at a hospital. And then they told the doctor they can't keep it because their parents will kill them, right? And so what happened is the doctor like knew my mom was on a list for adopting babies and just called her up. Said, do you want a baby? And she went from where she was in Montreal at the time, and then she went to Toronto and she got adopted my brother Ken. And I have 2 other brothers who were natural children, but there was a third daughter my mom had, but she died of crib death, like as a baby, right before I was adopted.